Hello and welcome to the Healing Insight podcast, episode 22, with me, Sarah Hunt.
And me, Jez Hunt.
Hello and welcome. Here we are again, Jay. How are things up in sunny Leicestershire?
Sunny Leicestershire, still sunny and humid and hot. It's actually quite warm in this room because I've been on my desk for a while on various video calls and recordings and things, and it's warmed up a bit.
I'm sure it has. Yeah, it's quite warm here as well in sunny Bedfordshire. But I do kind of feel like we could do with a bit of a storm just to break the air a bit because it is quite humid again.
Yeah, a bit of a storm's always a good thing.
Yeah, it does. It does seem to help, doesn't it? Just to clear the air and yeah, make it not feel quite so hot.
Yeah, I love thunderstorms. I remember I don't know. I remember one day, I must have been in my teens, 14-ish, walking across the churchyard at Cranfield in a thunderstorm with it absolutely chucking down with rain, and the lightning hit the bell tower lightning rod and went whoosh down the tower as I walked. I was a distance away. I wasn't right next to the lightning rod by any means, but enough for it to dazzle me and make a bit of a thump as it went into the ground. Ooh. So yeah, that's the closest I've come to being struck. Hopefully it'll never happen. Touch wood.
I'm sure it won't.
Yes, let's not manifest that. Let's not manifest
that, please. You still got lots to do. So
yes, indeed.
We'll not be manifesting that.
Indeed.
Okay, so today's session, we're going to look at insecurities.
Ooh, insecurities. Okay.
Yeah, and we were in the last session we were talking about responsibility, weren't we, and how important it is to take responsibility for ourselves. And this kind of nicely leads into insecurities, because when we feel very insecure, we have this tendency to give our responsibility away. Mm-hmm. And so we need to start recognizing that we are feeling insecure and then looking at what's going on here. Why am I feeling like this? Where's this actually coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Stunned silence.
I'm just contemplating what my responsibility is in this particular part of this conversation. Yes, and insecurities. When we feel insecure, it can trigger all sorts of things in us, and it can be caused by a number of things. I mean, the thing that comes to mind straight away is Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
Which, if you haven't come across that, listeners, then we will put there's a little pyramid diagram and stuff that explains it. That's quite often used, so I can put something like that in the show notes. That's not a problem, but worth looking at. But in essence, there are for Maslow's, the way he worked it, there are 5 levels. So we look at physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem and self-actualization as you go up the pyramid. So what he suggested with his research, although there were things that he admitted that he wasn't sure of, it wasn't right, if you like, with his original assumption of this. But there are certain things that we need to feel secure. So, for example, right at the base level, under basic needs, psychological needs, we've got air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. Comes on that. So reproduction as in survival of the species, if you like, the ability to that. So we need to feel secure. So we need those things to feel secure. Then we move into safety needs. So his original assumption was that we had to have the first layer done before we moved up to the next level. Whereas his research later was actually you can move up and down the levels as you will, because, for example, some people might put self-esteem or status above personal security. So personal security coming under safety needs. So that's more around so once you've got your food, water, your basic stuff, you then move into the things that will make you secure. So having a job or having income in modern day society, where we've got money coming in to be able to pay the things we need to pay, the bills, to have a roof over our heads, to pay for the food, to pay for the bills for the water and all those things, clothing. But it can also be the resources and the health and everything. Then the next level up is love and belonging. So friendship, intimacy, family, sense of connection, those sorts of things. And then we go into esteem, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom, those sorts of ideologies. Think of the word there. And then the ultimate part of this is actualization. So self-actualization, which is classed as self-fulfillment needs. So once we've gone through the basic needs, the first two levels, the psychological needs, which are the second two levels, levels 3 and 4, and then the top one is self-actualization, which is the desire to be the most that we can be.
Yeah, it's about reaching your full potential.
Reaching full potential, yeah, absolutely. So in essence, that's a very quick snapshot of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if something like that in your environment is out of kilter, so if you have a relationship that's not working so a personal relationship that's not working how you want it to, if you're having struggles with your children or whatever, then that can affect your sense of love and belonging. It can affect you at that level, which can then lead to you feeling insecure. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose your house, but then if it's a relationship you're in and you're worried about moving out because the relationship's over in your eyes, then yes, you're potentially losing that shelter, the roof over your head, the security of a relationship and a place to live and a bed to sleep in and all those things. So, which can also then lead to why people don't necessarily, going back to the last episode, take responsibility and change the things that aren't right for them in their life because of the fear of losing their home, losing the basic needs that we have, which leads to those insecurities of, well, how am I going to cope on my own? How am I going to... So again, it's giving away responsibility, isn't it, from what we were saying in last episode. So this one is actually... It might sound quite simple, but it's actually extremely complex in terms of how we deal with it as humans in human form, because we've got instinct going on from the reptilian brain or the various parts of human evolution. So we've got instinctive stuff going on. So the drivers to find air, water, food, shelter, protection. So these basic needs. And then we've got the mammalian brain, which is very much about feelings and emotions and what have you. And then we've got the human brain, the neocortex, which is all about the thinking brain, where we actually start to think and reason and rationalize and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things where we're trying to reason stuff out that's instinctive. So it's a bit like stress and going into... So when you're stressed and you go into the sympathetic nervous system, that's like an emergency response. It's your body shutting down because it's gone into fight or flight. You're in survival mode. So the connection to the neocortex, to the human brain, is disconnected. Sort of. You can't think rationally when you're in fight or flight. You have to be able to take that pause and take that step back to get back into that. So, you've got adrenaline, you've got chemical stuff going on in the body as well, with adrenaline and various things like that. So
I'd like to kind of add to that. You were talking about Macmillan.
The
mammalian brain, the reptilian brain, and the neocortex. And I'd like to kind of add to that. And you're right. You've got instinctive stuff going on there. You've got, being in your head. You've got whatever else, because it's just left.
Ah,
But I would like to add that to that, as we grow and develop, that we need to be listening to our intuition and listening to our heart. And we've got three different brains. So from an energetic point of view, so we have the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain, and the three of them all work together with our intuition. And when we're listening to those, they will help us to be secure in ourselves.
yeah,
When we're secure in ourselves, if we find ourselves in a situation where we're going to lose our house, we're going to lose our job, because we're secure in ourselves, we can go, it's okay, I can sort this out, and I can manifest a new job or manifest somewhere else to live or whatever it might be. When we're not actually listening to ourselves, when we haven't tuned in properly to ourselves and to our intuition, we can find ourselves too much in our heads, and then of course that can create the stress response, and we can end up in a situation where we're so stressed out that we go into that state of overwhelm that we were talking 2 or 3 episodes back.
mhm.
So it's more than those parts of the brain. To me, it's about also listening to yourself, and it's bringing everything back inward again. It's about listening to yourself, listening to your intuition, allowing your head, heart, and gut to work together to give you insight and understanding of where these insecurities are coming from, what it is that you can do to actually make yourself feel secure within yourself again.
Yes, yes,
And when you feel secure within yourself, then you are empowering yourself to be able to deal with anything with confidence.
yes.
Does that
It
make
does.
sense?
Are you wanting some feedback here? Yes, it does. And actually, so we've talked about this in previous one of the earlier episodes, where we talked about your intuition versus your gut instinct, and your gut instinct is, people perceive it to be often where we're running away from something. It's something that warns us of danger. It's something because we feel it down in the gut or lower down. Whereas if we're following our heart, and we're following our heart center, then we feel it up in the chest. We feel it, and typically that is a towards feeling. That normally, certainly in my experience, for me, if I get something that feels right in the heart, then that's normally something that's going to benefit me. Whereas I feel it something in my gut, then often that is something that I need to be aware of, to move away from. It's something that won't necessarily help me. Well, that also links to the reptilian mammalian brain, so the reptilian brain, because that gut instinct away from warns us of danger. It's something that we've evolved with over however many hundreds of thousands of years or whatever, that millions of years that humans have been around. So although we don't have the saber-toothed tiger potentially just, although I think somebody proved that humans and saber-toothed tigers were never in the same vicinity, but for the sake of this metaphor, let's go with it. But just because we don't have a saber-toothed tiger around the corner just about to jump out and eat us, then we've still got that instinct, even though in the human state, in the human brain part of it, we can rationalize it when we're able to, that we can't when we're in that fight or flight or that fear stress state. As we said before, there's a direct connection energetically to the physical as well. Anyway, is what
Yeah.
what I was trying to do here was connect,
because it's all connected.
what you said to what I said.
Yeah.
Really, and I absolutely agree with you. It's there are things that we perceive them to be a reaction to something, and there are reasons for that, particularly in a stressed state. There are things that when we start to go within and listen to ourselves and our intuition, we start to pick stuff up. So once you start feeling stuff in your heart rather than in your gut, for example, as I said earlier, for me, that's moving towards something that's going to help me. So whether that's help me grow, help something be better, help me develop, help me understand, rather than stuff when I feel it in the gut, oh, that feels a bit off, that feels not quite right. But I'm feeling that at an energetic level, even if it is connected from a physical to the reptilian brain originally. I don't know. I mean, that's just what's coming up for me right now. It's not necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the energy of everything is all connected to the physical.
Yeah.
It's all interlinked. So, but it's just us really coming to understand the importance of going within. And that's the other really big message that I've been getting recently is go within, go within, go within. And that's what I'm working with my Cosmic Heart students at the moment. It's all about going within, listening to ourselves, listening what resonates with me, what feels uncomfortable, so that you can really get a greater insight into what makes you feel insecure. Why aren't you confident about whatever you're doing in your work life? Why aren't you confident about your home life? Why aren't you confident about learning that new skill? What is it within you that's stopping you from being your best self?
Mm.
And I think a lot of these insecurities they probably come right from when we're small children, when and situations where people have perhaps been humiliated or felt humiliated. They may not have purposely been humiliated,
Sure.
but they have felt humiliated because they've got something wrong. And perhaps you've got a question wrong in a class of 30 children, and people start laughing at you. That then can affect your self-belief, your self-worth, and then you can feel insecure in yourself. People that have been bullied, again, that's all about their perception of what's going on, of how they're being treated, and that can then affect how they feel about themselves. And so insecurities can kind of develop over a long period of time. And if you don't go inward, you may not recognize them. And so then what you do is end up giving your responsibility away.
Yes.
So coming to understand how you tick is really important.
And actually, if we all go on the basis that our journey here is to be the best we can be, so whether somebody is spiritual or not doesn't matter. If we go on the basis that in human form we are here to be the best we can be, and if that's our journey on this planet while we're here, then that in itself gives people purpose. I mean, we've talked about purpose before, but that in itself, at a very base level, gives people purpose, because my purpose is to be the best I can be. Okay, I want to do that as part of what I want to do. Well, I don't feel I can do that because I don't feel... So, for example, I want to go and share my knowledge on stage, and I want to go and stand on stage in front of 2,000, 3,000, 30,000 people. No, sorry, that's not me. I'm not saying that. I'm not. This is an example.
Okay.
Of which, as I am now,
face, weren't you?
as I am now demonstrating, of which I would be quite fearful of that. I would be quite uncomfortable with doing that. So what that then highlights to me is, as part of my journey, is okay, so something is stopping me from doing that. I am feeling extremely, that's not me, not gonna do it. So then that gives you the signs or the like a signpost to, well, if that's what you feel is what you want to do to be able to be the best you can be and to help as many people as you want to help, then you need to deal with and address those things that are holding you back. So what are the beliefs behind that? What are the things that happened to you in the past that you need to let go of energetically to allow you to move from that space of fear, from that insecurity,
Yeah.
to be able to push through that, or to move, not push through it, to move from that place into the place where the thought of standing up on stage in front of 20,000 people is exciting rather than fearful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, this is where it again, it's coming back to this listening to yourself, listening to your responses to things, listening to your reactions to things, feeling what's going on within you. And a lot of people have forgotten how intelligent our bodies are, and how they're giving us messages all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not listening, that's when we start developing physical problems, and dis-ease. But if we truly listen to ourselves, then we can actually recognize that's making me feel really uncomfortable. Why do I feel so uncomfortable, as you were saying? And you're not the only one that would feel uncomfortable in front of 20,000 people at this point in time. I need to work on that. But, it might be doing a parachute jump. It could be riding a horse. It could be jumping into water in a swimming pool. But, whatever it might be, it's learning to recognize what your body's telling you.
Yes.
Learning to recognize when you're in a state of fear rather than in a state of love. Learning to recognize when you're feeling insecure rather than confident, so that you can actually look at it and go, hey, what's actually going on here? Maybe journaling a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe doing some meditation to help you to gain insight and understanding. Maybe some specific healing work needs doing, energetically or through coaching or whatever it might be, to help you to release the fear and the emotions that are all linked up to that, and the stress as well. I do feel that people have an awful lot of post trauma stress, that links to different experiences that they've had, and they may be considered to be insignificant experiences to somebody else. So to a mother, child falls over and hurts themselves, come on, up you get, you're all right.
Mm-hmm.
But actually for that child, whatever, depending on what happened, that might have been quite traumatic and would leave them with perhaps a little bit of traumatic stress. So recognizing those incidents, being willing to ask yourself, where's this coming from? What is it that's causing me to feel like this? So that you can actually look at it, realize, maybe even reframe it, and realize that actually it's something you can let go of. You don't need to hold on to this anymore. Things aren't going to happen in the same way again. And I think, sometimes what happens is that we end up in a state of fear because of something that's happened to us before. Something similar is happening. And I do feel that no experience is ever the same. It might be similar, but it's never the same.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like our body goes, whoa, hold on a minute. We've done that before.
Yeah.
Not doing that again.
Yeah,
no, back off. And actually it's giving us an opportunity to change what we did before, so that we have learned the lesson, if you like, and can move on to the next thing that we need to do, we need to learn.
What came to mind, an example. So when I was a child, as you might remember, I had a lot of ear trouble and had various operations on my ears by the age of 4. And one of the things that we were doing at school, so this is primary school, was we were having swimming lessons. Well, I was told by the doctors that I had to have cotton wool in my ears and then a swimming pool cap on, a swimming cap. Not a shower cap, because that'd be all flowery and stuff. And in those days, no. Anyway, and I remember I was taking a long time to get in the pool because I hadn't been allowed to go in a swimming pool or put my head underwater or anything like that prior to this. And I do remember a particular time when the teacher at the pool, so it wasn't a teacher at the school, it was the instructor, picked me up, carried me to the deep end and threw me in because I was taking so long to get into the pool because I was fearful. And from that point on, mum and dad basically complained to school and I never went swimming again. But it petrified me. And it took me until quite late on in my, and I certainly wouldn't regard myself as a confident swimmer now. I can sort of do basic breaststroke for a few lengths, but I'm not, I can tread water and I can keep myself up for a while, but it's not something I'm confident with. But that was all down to a perception, because the next time I went in the pool didn't mean that I was going to go under and struggle or anything like that. But it was just that constant, every time I thought of water or going near water, it was that whole fear of bringing back that flashback from when I was 8 or 9 or about 7 or 8, when I was thrown into the deep end by the instructor. So was that a traumatic? I mean, now I'll get in the swimming pool, I'll get in the deep end. It doesn't bother me, even though I'm not that confident. I still have a bit of trouble in the sea if it's really deep water. But, anyway, that's a by the by. It's something I recognise that I can work on to be a better me.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe there's something around that you need to look at that will give you more confidence in water. Because sometimes these situations traumatize us a lot more than we actually realize, and we think we've overcome things because we're managing to go swimming, get in a pool and what have you, but there's still sort of residual energies sitting there that are stopping you from taking that to your full potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So there's an awful lot, and I do feel that the way that children are brought up has an effect on how secure they feel as adults.
Yes, and I think that that this one works at a number of levels.
Yeah.
So there's the demonstrating love, there's the demonstrating affection. So if you've got cold parents who don't give you love, they struggle to give you affection because of their insecurities or what happened to them as children growing up, then that can have an effect on the way a child perceives love and affection. So that can be insecurities. If a child just wants to be held and hugged, but the parent won't do it because they don't know how to, or they feel uncomfortable doing it, that can have an impact, for example.
Yeah. I have noticed in some of my work that often if you've got someone in a family that's insecure, you'll see it coming down the family line. Confidence.
Well, yeah, because we pick up what our parents show us. As kids, we're sponges. So if a parent is demonstrating fear of something, then we will assume that, well, mum or dad, whoever, mum's scared of that, so that's something I need to be scared of. So we will automatically adopt that as a belief.
Yeah, actually, that's just brought something to my attention that I need to look at. In that, I remember when we were children going to London with mum and dad, and mum would freak out if we were anywhere near the edge of the platform of the train, the underground platform. She would absolutely freak out. She'd have us at the back with her arms almost across us so that we weren't anywhere near the yellow line or anything. So that was a big fear for her. I don't think I ever had the discussion to find out where that came from with her, but it's just kind of made me think about things with my children and my grandchildren, how I did a similar thing in the underground. And even when I'm on my own in the underground, I'm always way back against the wall till the train's pulled in, rather than close up to where the train's going to be. So there must be something in my past that I need to look at that makes me feel that way in that kind of situation. But it may be learned behaviour from my mother, or our mother, but it may be something else as well.
Well, no, I would go with it's possibly learned behaviour, because that explains where it comes from for me then. Because I hadn't got a clue why. But I do get nervous if I go near the edge of a platform.
Yeah, I don't
But
like
I've never
it at all.
even thought about it, other than just makes me nervous. But actually, you just saying that, it's like, oh, that's something I can work on too,
Light
because
bulb
now I've
moment
got
for
an
two of
idea
us now.
where that came from.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? When you start looking at some of the childhood experiences you've had, when you start looking at the way that your parents have responded to situations or reacted, and then how you respond or react. And I've certainly noticed that there's been times when I've done something or said something to my children or even to the grandchildren. It's like, oh, I'm my mother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's learned behavior. But if it's learned behavior where the parent is insecure, then that is going to move on down the ancestral lines, the family lines, if we don't actually recognize it and address it and do what we can to change it.
Yeah. Well, that's a insightful session, and we've both got some homework to do by the looks of
It
it.
looks like it, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think plenty to be thinking about for people there, and don't be afraid to look at things. Don't be afraid to go inward and see where things are coming from and why you don't feel as confident as you could be. Because really, what we're all aiming for is to reach our potential and be our best selves, the best self that we can possibly be in each moment.
Absolutely. Excellent. Another awesome episode.
Definitely. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Jay, for your time.
That's okay.
And
And you too.
yeah, and your humour.
Yeah, even though I think I'm funnier than I probably am. But hey.
Well, yeah, the jury's out on that one.
Thanks.
Okay, then. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.